Hi, this is Cayman with Coal Creek Tubs, and today I'm going to show you how to do a DIY plumbing system with our vertical coal tub. I have all the parts laid out here on the table. These are a great combination of parts to get great performance in the coal tub. Our vertical coal tub comes equipped with 2 bulkhead fittings. These are 3/4 inch already. The area is recessed, so you have a step when you're getting inside the tub, but this also gives you more space for the plumbing, so it doesn't just stick way off the tub. We like everything nice and compact. We like it simple. And the great thing is when you're using a 1/4 horsepower chiller, it all fits underneath the step, so it's all enclosed. All these are MPT threads, sealant tape on all the threads. That's going to be the first step of getting this all installed, and we'll walk you through step by step on everything, and I'm going to explain why we're doing things a certain way as well. Okay, so everything that has a thread on here, we are going to put tape on. And when you're putting tape on, this is just Blue Monster Teflon tape. You're going to start this way and work it clockwise. You want to do it clockwise because when you're installing the fitting, you don't want the tape to start coming up. But for everything, it's going to get 3 wraps of Teflon tape. So just pull it just like that. Okay, and we'll get the other side of this bushing as well. So now we have Teflon tape on all the threaded MPT connections. Just gonna make everything else go a little bit faster, not having to reach back for the Teflon tape. First step is gonna be taking one of these 3/4 inch bushings. So you have 2 of them. The first one's gonna go right here to the top port. Then just take your wrench and get it tight. So these are all MPT, so National Pipe Thread. So not every thread is going to get into the female section. It's going to bottom out before it goes all the way in. So you can see I'm just doing it hand tight. I have about one more turn on it. So now that we have the bushing installed, next is going to be installing this T. So we have 2 different T's. We have 2 of the T's that have all female connections. Then we have one of the T's that has male ends as well. This is going to be the female version. And this you don't even need the wrench because you have the leverage from the T. So, and stop it when it's facing perpendicular. We're going to install the valve. Then we're going to take the bushing, and rather than install the bushing right into the valve, even though it's going to be installed into the valve, we're going to take our filter housing. So it says out and in. So water is going to be flowing in through the filter, then out going into the tub. So we're going to go to our out section, and it's easier to do this than rather try to basically spin the filter housing onto this bushing once it's in. So this is just a little bit of a cheat. Take the bushing and install it. Then we'll take the assembly here and spin it in. So now we're going to take our next valve and then thread it straight in to the filter housing. Then the T that has the 3 male sides goes right into the valve. Now the female barb, and I just need to get this barb facing this other barb here. So now this has a flow arrow, so the water is going to enter on the short side. You can see this is longer here, over here. So the water is going to enter, then exit here. So you can see this will go right here. So our first piece of hose, you can just measure it out. So we can get the hose pushed onto the barb. Some fancy hose clamps that don't even need a screwdriver. For our next section of hose, just measured out just like this. Now the last piece of plumbing for this top section is this 90 female barb. This is gonna basically connect to the chiller. So this is what our top assembly looks like. Then I'll go over everything at the end, but the way this works is that cool water after the chiller is gonna enter the plumbing assembly, and it's gonna have two ways to go, either through the filter and get filtered through the cartridge filter on the inside, or go through the Venturi. So it's always important to have the Venturi in line, or I guess next to the filter, because you want that back pressure of the water trying to go through the filter to force water through the Venturi as well. So this Venturi has a small orifice in here, and basically the velocity of the water that shoots through that small orifice causes a suction through here. So you're always gonna have suction on this port. Sometimes it'll be hooked up. Sometimes the ozone will be on and it'll be sucking in air that has ozone in it. Then other times it'll just be sucking in air, and then that gets shot right into your tub. So now we're gonna spin this into the bulkhead and face it that way. This is a quick coupling. We're gonna thread this part of the quick coupling right into the lower. Now we're gonna thread this other end of the quick coupling right into the pump and just give it. If you do see a leak from here, you can grab a larger wrench than this and just get a couple more turns. But this is very convenient if you ever need to swap the pump. It also made it possible to install the pump really close to the tub right here out of the way. And next we're going to be installing our 3/4 inch female, female, female. We'll install our valve right here onto the side. So now we're going to be installing the hoses to go from the filter assembly as well as the pump assembly. Last fitting that has the barb tightened down, that pump at a slight tilt, so it's not going to change the way the pump functions at all. So these are the fittings that come with this Active Agua chiller. So 3/4 inch barb again, then it has this gasket with threads that basically press down and seal. What kind of attachment you have, because everything will connect to 3/4 inch hose, and you just need to get the adapter for whatever chiller it is. So we'll be pushing in the hose onto this piece. I always struggle getting it past more than one barb. It really is okay. You can heat it up with a torch, the hair dryer, to get it on further, but you're not going to have any issues with leaks here. It'll look just like that. Look, it says N here. You can just trust me because I know you can't see it from the camera. So this is basically the water that comes in first. And that's coming from the pump because the pump is sucking from the bottom of the tub. You can do a rough measurement here of how much hose we need to go from pump to chiller. And we'll string over 2 hose clamps. So after the water goes through the chiller, it's going to come out of the chiller. Then it's going to go through the filter and the ozone. We're going to do the same thing. It's that last hose. You can see that's that first barb. Now the same way we measured out that hose length, we're going to do the same for the insulation. So mark the insulation. Then the way that this goes, it just rolls around it. Just like that. And I definitely recommend insulating both the big hoses. Or then string it up over so we only have to do it once. We're going to be installing the ozone, and just make sure you're using short enough screws when you're going straight into the tub. This is a double wall section, so it's not going to penetrate all the way through the tub. And you also don't even need to screw it onto the tub. You can just leave it on the ground. Once the ozone is mounted, it's time to run the ozone to the Venturi. So you can get it pushed on to this right barb. This is where the ozone comes out. It'll run up just like this. You can cut it right there. And so this is a one-way valve, so you get ozone to be able to flow this way. So it needs to be able to blow that way. So air flows that way, does not flow this way. That keeps water out of this ozone generator. Then what you can do is just wrap it around like this. Basically the way it works is the ozone is drawing in air from the generator. We hooked up to our timer, which will be plugged into the electrical. Now we'll set our timer. We like the ozone to come on at night, so 3 in the afternoon right now. We want it to come on for 1 hour every night, so 2 clicks down. So all of them pulled out, 2 clicks down. Then make sure that the timer is on. So this will be plugged in there. Our pump, then our chiller will also be plugged in. So I'll get this, I did all this on a table just for a better visual. I'll get this put onto the ground and show how it works. So you can drop in your filter into the housing just like that. If you want to run like an insulating sock underneath the filter, this is such a small filter housing, it's really not going to sweat a whole bunch. But you can see this is how filter changes will be done. The bottom just like this, nice and tight. This is how our plumbing assembly. We'll do a better job with kind of our wire management. Chiller sits here, and our last power requirement, get our top 2 connections installed. tub comes with child locks that have not been installed. Lid that comes with the vertical tub. So chose to install the Coal Creek Large. It'll cover up all the equipment just like that. And you can still change the temperature. So now before we actually turn on the system, we need to add water. We're not in front of a spigot right now, but we do have a bucket of water. And again, we're at our shop today doing this full plumbing install. So we're not gonna get in the tub right now, but we have the water above the bottom jet. So now we can plug in the system to test and check for any leaks. Now to change the temperature on this chiller, you can just hold down set. We'll set it to 43 for now. So you can see it's set for 43. The current temperature is 68 Fahrenheit. The pump is always going to be running in the system. It's always going to be circulating through that filter. But only when the water actually needs to cool will the compressor and the chiller kick on. And you'll know it's on because it'll be blowing air behind as well. Water entering the bottom, through that pump, through the chiller, through our filter and ozone, then out the top as well. There's actually air bubbles that are coming out with the water. So through that stream, you can see the water, it's kind of like fizzling up just like that. That's from the ozone. So another way to test that the ozone is being sucked in properly is it's hooked up to the Venturi now. And you can see the light for the ozone generator is not on currently. But if you want to test and make sure there's ozone coming out, you can spin the dial until it hits the time that you selected and it'll turn blue. But another cool test to show that the Venturi is actually working, because there's a lot of people that will install Venturis but just install them not the right way. You need to have the filter, the pressure, the back pressure that of the water trying to go through the filter sends the water to the Venturi as well. It needs to create a vacuum. So if I put my finger over this hose, I can feel a vacuum, I can feel a suction. So even though it's connected to here, there's no leak because it's always just blowing in a suction. So measured the vacuum. You don't need much. You can see it's just 0.1 PSI. And you only need enough pressure to open up that poppet valve so the ozone draws in. So we'll show you what it looks like, everything installed. So again, if you selected our big step, everything becomes concealed. Typically comes with a smaller step for entry and exit. Your chiller and pump and everything are exposed, but even if it is exposed, we think we did a great job, or this DIY really conceals everything underneath the tub. This is what it looks like concealed. I'll step away. Now on how to maintain the tub. When you want to change the filter and there's water still in the tub, turn off or unplug the system, pull away the chiller, and spin off the water filter after you have both valves closed. So you can see they're parallel now with plumbing. That was open position. This is the off position. So now they're off. Kind of have our wiring around here, but now you can spin the filter off just like that with minimal spillage. Now we'll reinstall. Then the system is ready to be plugged in and turned on. System's good to go. Now if you come over to this side, we'll show you how to drain the tub. So just take your standard garden hose, find the drain spigot, and open up the valve. So again, as the tub's draining, this is how we set up our DIY cold tub when you already own a chiller. The chiller that we use on our vertical tub is an all-in-one tub, but the pump and the ozone are modular, so they can be removed if they ever did break. But definitely confident that if you already have a chiller, this is the best system you can kind of use for a DIY. Really hugs everything up to the tub. It's reliable, it's simple, it has ozone, and it's built the right way. All stainless steel components, nicely insulated. It's gonna last a long time. And most important, it's using a high quality hard shell tub. So this tub will last the lifetime. And if any of these components ever does breaks, it can be easily swapped out. But let us know if you have any questions. We're gonna have a whole bunch more content on the DIY, parts lists, winterization, all that good stuff. So let us know if you need anything. Thank you.